This is White Plains Week, the weekly roundup of White Plains, Westchester, and world news. With John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains CitizeNetReporter, WPCNR.com. Jim Benneroff, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. White Plains Week, what's happening? Who are the newsmakers? What's in store for the future? The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76, Verizon Fios Channel 45, and on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. and Ms. White Plains, New York, USA. In the headlines this week, White Plains schools open full-time on Monday, March 22nd, as scheduled. County Executive George Latimer stuns Albany Senate and Assembly, rush to oust the governor with reason and common sense call to trust the process. White Plains Urban Renewal Agency authorizes purchase of the first 3 properties for massive development of East Post Road, and that means more development to come for years. State Senate submits $388 billion budget restoring losses of White Plains and Westchester and hundreds of other cities and towns across the state due to COVID. Senator Andrea Stewart Cousins presents rollback of solitary confinement bill. George Latimer predicts Westchester County will be 40% fully vaccinated by end of the month of March. A supply of vaccine is stabilized. And moving on with more. The vaccine pace is the key to stopping 4% infection rate that grips Westchester. Westchester District Attorney Mimi Roca and County Executive George Latimer launch hate crime crackdown and establish a hotline to report hate prejudice crimes. Lawyers are standing by. Call 914-995-TIPS, TIPS. We will interview Deborah Novick on Element 46, the new Westchester County Incubator program for entrepreneurs and established key businesses who want to grow with the recovery. Applications are due by March 31st. Now to the White Plains Week video newsreel March of Time for March 19th, 2021. It's full day school days back in school Monday in White Plains, New York, USA. Friday afternoon, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Joseph Ricca, addressed the school district and the city of White Plains on how the schools will open as he promised 2 weeks ago. 3 grades will be coming back. Kindergarten sessions in all the elementary schools. 9th grade and 12th grade at White Plains High School. Social distancing, plastic shields are in place between desks. Masking being enforced, and the schools have provided instructions to all parents and caretakers on protocols. If you as a parent have any questions, the schools will help. At the beginning of the week, the state of the state was tense, with calls by major senators and Albany Assembly and even senators from Washington for Governor Cuomo to resign. County Executive George Latimer issued this statement on where he stood.
Hi, I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. There's been a major issue discussed within the state of New York, and I wanted to address it with my personal thoughts and to do it on camera so that you could hear my thoughts in a very personal and a very direct way. Last week, I shared my thoughts on my personal Facebook page about the issues at hand with the governor and accusations of impropriety. This matter is one of paramount attention, and I wanted to briefly summarize my thinking in this opportunity. The accusations made against the governor are serious, and they must be taken seriously. No man can truly understand or appreciate what women endure in moments like this. The action taken by State Attorney General Tish James has been swift and promises to fully and thoroughly investigate the claims and deliver an objective assessment on all pertinent elements of this matter. I do not feel it's appropriate to undercut her leadership in this moment. I have faith that she will supervise a professional review in as prompt a time frame as is possible. I am further confident that there is zero chance that anything will be swept under the rug. This will be a transparent process as all eyes are watching. I also recognize that the Assembly Judiciary Committee has been tasked with initiating an impeachment review with broader scope, led by Assemblyman Chuck Levine, whom I have served with in the Assembly. I am confident that he and Speaker Hasty, who will also conduct an open and fair review of all the facts related to this issue. The results of these two investigations represent the rule of law and the process that protects all of us. If we abandon process now, how will that affect us when future matter arises, different in scope and specifics, but without an underlying set of principles to guide us? We might open the door to greater instability in a moment where democracy is challenged by all who dislike any particular official or any particular decision. Questions have arisen about outreach from Larry Schwartz to county executives regarding this matter. I spoke to Larry a number of days ago, but that's not unusual. Larry is a resident of Westchester County, a former deputy county executive whom I have known for 25 years. He was soliciting my position on this matter, which I shared with him as I am sharing it with you today, and he made no effort to influence me or threaten me. No other matters were raised or alluded to in our conversation, which was amicable. I personally did not find his outreach unreasonable, given our long-term friendship and our working relationship. At the end of the day, my career in government, or the career of any of us in government, is not as relevant as the system of democracy itself. There is pride and ambition in each of us, and aspirations for our communities, and oftentimes for ourselves. But they are all subordinate to the truth. If truth leads us to lose our position of authority, then let truth be done. I accept that reality when I first sought and won public office years ago as a local councilman, and I accept that today. My job today is to run Westchester County, to make intelligent decisions, to help fight the COVID pandemic, and that will continue to be my main goal, however this matter is resolved. We must be supportive of those who have stepped forward, and we must trust the process.
I agree with that statement, and it was and is the right thing to say, and was perhaps the most eloquent, hard-hitting, and thoughtful statement the county executive has ever made during his 3 years in office. Yesterday, very quietly, White Plains took the second step towards major redevelopment of East Post Road across the street from White Plains Hospital. This was the scene 16 months ago in December 2019 when the White Plains Urban Renewal Agency voted to designate 13 properties on East Post Road for possible eminent domain. Thursday morning, yesterday, the Urban Renewal Board met at 9 a.m. and started the process and authorized the purchase of these 3 properties. There they are. At the top, the Firestone property at 60 Post Road. On the bottom of the slide, the strip of active storefronts, and the upper right, the abandoned gas station, 2628 East Post Road. At the time of the designation of the 13 parcels in December 2019, it was done for an undisclosed project to be decided. As of this time I am recording this show, that undisclosed project is still undisclosed. And still, whether or not the other 10 properties are still being considered is not known. The Urban Renewal Agency authorized $9.8 million in bonds to pay for the 3 properties. This is the second appearance of a go-ahead on a major development in a week, and I mean major. Last week, we told you about the Pacific Retail Capital Partners promising a repurposing of the Galleria based on comments by their senior vice president. And more development is ahead for years to come in downtown White Plains, New York, USA. Meanwhile, in another place, in another part of the state, Albany, New York State Senator Andrew Stewart Cousins, the Senate Majority Leader, issued the state Senate budget, put out a budget of the Senate to rival Governor Cuomo's budget that we have not yet seen. The bill calls for $388 billion and distributes some $15 billion in COVID aid from Washington. Senator Cousins said it increases school aid by $5.7 billion, more than last year. It legalizes mobile sports betting. It is redistributing the American Rescue Plan money to the cities signed last week. And what intrigues me is that it sends that money to the cities, counties, and towns of the state. County Legislature Leader Benjamin Boykin, made this clear, what it means for Westchester County. Legislator Boykin said $187.64 million is coming to Westchester County. White Plains will receive, we are in the money, folks, $22 million in aid. No, $27 million in aid, which means I do not have to check the sales tax receipts out today because it doesn't matter. White Plains, with that aid, is whole. They will make up the deficit that was developing by millions and have a windfall in revenue. What will they do with the money? And the county, well, forget about the deficit they have been running in their sales taxes. The county will be solvent. Oh, so solvent. Senator Cousins also passed the HALT Act, prohibiting solitary confinement beyond 15 days. Having been confined to my home for a year with all the comforts, books, Netflix mania, I still miss human contact. I can't imagine how horrible solitary confinement is. The boredom, the lack of stimulation. It is cruel beyond imagination. At the COVID briefing Thursday, County Executive George Latimer delivered positivity. He said the hospitalizations were down to 269 from 588 7 weeks ago, and Westchester had 200 less cases of COVID, 5,364 compared to 5,584. He highlighted the county had 7 weeks of declining cases. Still, it has been a year where he said 2,159 Westchester citizens have died. Good news on vaccinations, Mr. Latimer said. He expected at the current rate of 38,000 vaccinations a day and available vaccines, the county would be 40% fully vaccinated by the end of March. As of yesterday, the state vaccination tracker said 140,928 Westchester residents had both shots, and 28% had one shot. At the 3 major county vaccination centers, County Center, Grasslands, Yonkers, they're vaccinating 38,000 a day, plus various pop-ups. Now, this would cover the 267,000 still needing one shot. And that is now less as I speak to you because they've been giving shots all day today of course. Unfortunately, over the last 7 days, 384 Westchesterites have tested positive for the virus a day. This is why hospitalizations are not declining the last few weeks. People are discharged from the hospital, but more come in, almost matching the lowering of infections. Keeping the hospitals under pressure, this keeps the hospitals under pressure. If we can stop getting infected and lower the rate of hospitalization, the pressure will ease off and things will be much better for everybody. Take a look at the last 2 weeks of infections by the most cases per town. Everybody loves this chart. This is not a good job by these towns. Yonkers is still the most infective place you can go in the county. 111 a day. Mount Vernon has moved ahead of New Rochelle. White Plains has 288 in 3 weeks, 21 a day. Greenburgh, Terrytown, the same. Moving on up. Now, Peter Shearer, mayor of Pleasantville, appeared. He said he was still concerned about Pleasantville infections and the steadiness of them, although he only has experienced in Pleasantville 34 new cases in 2 weeks. Mr. Shearer expressed optimism because the Jacob Burns Theater was coming back at the end of April with movies indoors again, socially distanced and maskingly appropriate. There was an awful beating of an Asian woman in White Plains last week. The suspect has been apprehended. County Executive George Latimer and District Attorney Mimi Roca have opened up an effort to help persons who are victims of hate crimes to report them swiftly, with DA lawyers standing by to help them, and investigate the circumstances with what Mr. Latimer and Ms. Roca call the Speak Up Westchester campaign. If you watch the COVID briefing from yesterday, you will hear from the Commissioner of Public Safety on how county police are reaching out to deal with the wave of hate that seems to be trending throughout the country, though there has not been many reports of hate crimes in Westchester County. The number to call is 914-995-TIPS. Call the DA to report a hate-related incident or report it online at www.westchesterda.net. On People to be Heard this week, I interviewed Deborah Novick. Miss Novick is starting Element 46, the third Westchester Incubator project aimed at entrepreneurs and up-and-coming business owners wanting to grow themselves with the emerging new economy, the recovery. She told me what Element 46 offers, and she said that applications are still being accepted by the end of the month. Here's how Element 46 will work for you.
The way to have a healthy economy is to have growth in companies of all sizes, but the real engine of employment is typically the smallest companies, the newest companies. And in fact, here in Westchester, I think we have more than 38,000 small businesses employing under 10 people. So that's a really significant percentage of our overall employed adults. So the reason we wanted to have so many incubation programs is to be sure that people who have the desire to start a business have the resources, the training, and the support they need to be successful. And we know that those companies will continue to contribute to job creation and the tax base and the vibrancy of the local economy. And so we're really trying to do everything we can to be sure that they have the resources that they need.
How many businesses have been added successfully in these programs so far?
So that's a good question. Element 46 was launched over 2 years ago, and it's completed 2 cohorts. So there's typically 1 cohort per year, and they typically have 10 to 20 startups in the cohort. So I think there are 22 alumni, and we are open for applications for the 3rd cohort. So that would be another 10 to 15 startups being supported in Element 46. In the bio incubator at New York Medical College, which I'm not part of really anymore, but it's still there. As you mentioned, there are about 10 startups percolating through there. In the Westchester County Biosciences Accelerator Program, the first cohort was a pilot that was only 6 startups, and the current cohort has 12. So that's another 18 companies. And in Launch 1000, we're giving up to 1,000 residents the opportunity to get the training they need to launch a business. And right now, there are 400 people in the program, but we're open for applications until probably the middle of July. So I am hopeful that we'll get to 1,000.
That would be amazing. And everybody who has gone through the program so far still in business and successful.
Well, everybody in Launch 1000 is looking into a brand new idea. So none of those, or I shouldn't say none, but very few of those are actually businesses yet. Most of them are ideas in the, we call it the de-risking phase. They're checking out their idea, talking to potential customers, trying to figure out exactly the best way to launch. And it's really important to note that when people go through programs like this, and there are many other organizations in the county that provide entrepreneurial training, not just the county itself. And in those programs, I think the numbers will be about the same as what I'm saying now. It's typical that 20 to 30% of the people who start a program will either drop out or not launch their businesses. And partly that's for the good reason that they discover that their business idea probably won't work or work as well as they need it to be worth doing. Typically, we have about 100 applicants that we screen
impressive.
down to, 10 or 15 to fill the cohort.
What qualifications does an entrepreneur applying for have to meet up front?
Well, we're looking for businesses. We typically take 2 types of businesses into Element 46. We are looking for high growth, scalable businesses that can really make a significant job creation contribution to the economy, and build on the vibrancy of the economy here. In the current round, we're hoping to focus on 4 priority sectors for the applicants or for the ones who are selected. And those are 4 sectors that have been identified as part of our strategic plan for this year, which are the biosciences, but for, in this case, probably digital health and telemedicine, fintech companies, clean energy companies, and advanced manufacturing. We also accept into the program, I would call them anchor community businesses. So a local business that may not be scalable on a national basis, but is an important economic driver in their area. So, and has growth potential. We think we can really help them do more, but they're more than a hobby business, let's say. They're not a micro business. They're really a solid local business.
I see. And they're basically somewhat capitalized or no capitalization?
We don't have a criteria.
They have to have a certain what?
We don't have a specific criteria around that. They don't have to have a certain level of revenues or a certain level of profits or a certain level of capital. No, it's more about the growth potential that we see, and it's on the entrepreneur to really make that pitch to us.
Right. I understand those applying have until March 31st. After those are chosen, they will be invited to Pitch Day. How does Pitch Day work?
Well, Pitch Day is really at the end of the program. So the way it works is the startups apply. We have an approval process, an interview process. We choose the cohort. Then they go through a 4 to 6 month curriculum where they're being coached and trained and pushed to accelerate their business in certain ways. And the pitch day will be at the end. And actually, this is the first time we're having pitch day. In the first two cohorts, we did not have a pitch day, but we feel that it's really needed. It's really a great opportunity for the cohort to have the chance to win financing. And it's great for the local business community to have a chance to hear the pitches of these startups. So we're hopeful that it'll be a really good addition to the program this year.
These would be like investors in the business.
Investors, yes.
I see. A capitalization effort on their
Yes,
part.
absolutely. I mean, a lot of growing startups do need to raise capital, and we've always tried to help them as best we could, introducing a variety of capital sources to them.
Remember, the number to call if you want more about Element 46 is 914-995-2900. That's 914-995-2900. You'll be connected with the County Office of Economic Development, and that entire interview can be seen on People to Be Heard at 7 o'clock Saturday or anytime at www.wpcommunitymedia.org. And also, I want to say it can be seen on WPCNR.com and also all around the world on the internet. Okay, so now I just want to remind you that we come to you through the real great efforts of Keith Baker and Rita Santos, who have been instrumental in putting this program together every week because of the COVID problems. And I salute them. They're terrific editors, and they really have zipped the show right along, and I think they have made it extremely better because of their dedicated efforts. Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Rita. And thank you, Jim Kenny. So, this is John Bailey saying good night, Jim Benaroff, and good night for White Plains Week.
This has been White Plains Week, news and commentary about White Plains, Westchester, and the world. The views and opinions expressed on this program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week, produced by White Plains CitizenNetReporter, and presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76 and Verizon Fios Channel 45. You may view White Plains Week anytime on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. For White Plains Week, this is Peter Katz speaking.